Rebuilding Together St. Louis is part of a national organization that provides home repair aid to the elderly, disabled, and low-income homeowners. Joining us today is Executive Director Dave Ervin. Thank you so much for being here.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So let's get things started for people who aren't familiar with Rebuilding Together St. Louis, and just give us the background of the organization.
Sure, it's a very simple concept. What Rebuilding Together does at its core is it provides free home repair for folks who can't do it themselves, low-income folks, seniors, disabled, veterans. And we put together volunteer teams, and we raise funds from corporations and individuals for the materials. And then the volunteers come together, and in the course of one day, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and ending at 5, they go in and they will transform a house and make it safe and dry and make people much happier.
Yes.
New paint. Lots of times people in their homes have, they have stairwells to the basement that are unsafe and front porches that are unsafe. So sometimes we'll rebuild them completely, and that we just give the folks a lot of things that they can't do themselves.
Well, we're looking at some pictures, so it looks like is this a project where, was it a ramp built, it seems?
Yeah, we have a fellow who is an amputee, and he uses a wheelchair to get around, electric wheelchair, and this is what he had made, and he would he'd fall off the edge, and have to get up, and so you can see just how makeshift this was. So I'm not sure if your next pictures are the done deal. That's the done deal. So
wow, looks very nice.
He's a real happy kid. Now he went out and painted that himself, and he actually got out of his wheelchair, and however he was able to get himself around, he painted that entire
Did he really?
ramp himself. We're so proud of him.
So how does the program work? I mean, in this case, we were just looking at an example of a home where you did a whole new ramp, but how does this work for anyone who would see this interview and they want to share the information to someone who might be in need of your services?
Very simple. We have an application that people fill out if they're in need, and the application, they fill out their financial information so that we can demonstrate that they are low income. Some things about their house, and then we go out and meet with the folks, and we have volunteers in all these different assignments, work evaluators, house inspectors, volunteers, and we go out and we look at the house and see what it needs. And we get about 500 or 600 applications a year. We wish we could do them all, but we do, I'd say, 150 houses on average per year.
Wow, that's still a lot. I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Especially everyone's volunteer-based who's working, not everyone, but the most people are volunteer-based.
The only people who are not volunteers are the 7 people who work in the office. And otherwise, we have about 2,000 or 3,000 volunteers who come out.
Yeah.
And and we're really blessed to be funded by big corporations, small corporations, community centers, churches, individuals, and they provide the funding, and the funding goes for the lumber and the paint and the supplies.
Yes.
But as anybody who knows, who works on their own house or who has repairs done, the big ticket's the labor. That's where you really, that's where the money goes, much more than the supplies, generally speaking. So when you get a whole volunteer team on, you're stretching every dollar by a multiple of about 4. So every these folks, they just if they could do it themselves, they would, and some of them used to be able to do it. But the people who get volunteers who get involved, some are a little concerned at first that they may not have the skill level. And we always joke, if you know how to pick up a paintbrush, we call you highly skilled.
Right.
So, and if you can load a drill bit into an electric screwdriver, well, then so really, when people get on location, and we have a leader that we call a house captain that we put in charge of each house. And what happens is the people get there in the morning, and the house captain finds out who's good at doing this type of thing, who's good at, and they just kind of
delegate the work.
Yeah, people just kind of go out to where they feel comfortable, and without fail, everything tends to get done. By the end of the day, there might be some new gutters. Drainage problems have gone away. We've got people whose plumbing leaks and it doesn't leak at the end of the
You've
day.
got a big event that's coming up that we're going to talk about when we come back from this break. But really quickly, on the screen, reach out to rebuildingtogether-stl.org. You see the Rebuilding Day information there. We're going to get into the details of that when we come back. But stay with us at STL Live. We'll have more with Rebuilding Together St. Louis right after this break.